All right, everyone. Welcome to the Kink 101 series. This session, we are doing kink dynamics and relationships. Today, we're going to go over class rules, introductions. We're going to talk about what kink is and BDSM. We're going to kind of do a very, very quick recap on kink as a sexual orientation that we talked about last session. Then we're going to get into dominant versus top, submissive versus bottom, and then, of course, switch, and then we're going to go back and forth with an open discussion. A couple of rules. During the class, we use kink pseudonyms or FetLife profile names to protect the amazingly awesome guilty. This class is recorded and it is posted on YouTube to benefit the entire kink community. We treat this as a seminar with an open discussion. So if you have questions, just go ahead and ask them at any time, whether it's in the seminar part or whether it's in the open discussion. We have a zero judgment zone here. So your kink may not be my kink, and that's okay. Make sure that you approach everything with an open mind and a kind heart. And both Diosa and I have a one-strike policy. Any lewd or crude behavior on this or any of our activities, it simply gets you ejected from the activity and pretty much banned from any further Wolfspirit or Diosa events. All right, so if everyone's good with the rules, we're going to introduce the hosts real quick. I'm Jay Wolfspirit. I'm a life coach and kink educator. I will pass it over to Diosa.
That was a smooth transition.
You like that?
All right, Diosa, and we have the play space here in Winchester. I'm a sensual dominatrix, so that's a little different on the spectrum, I think. And I guess we're gonna
I got that right?
Yes.
Sensual dominatrix.
Sensual. I'm gonna let you stew on it.
Boss, damn. I screwed up for the boss.
I'll get you later.
Right. I will pass it over to Brighteyes.
Michael and Michelle, we are owners of Kinky Bed and Bondage here in Winchester, Virginia.
And that's actually where we, the hosts, are actually hosting this event right now. Socially distanced, of course. We have guest panel speakers today. I'd like to introduce Not Really Dead and Miss Gigi. Would you two like to introduce yourselves?
Yeah, hi. I'm Not Really Dead, rope top, and generally delightful sadist. You wanna?
Hi, I'm Miss Gigi. I am kind of switchy, but bottom leaning. Yeah.
Go ahead.
Jay, Michelle, Diosa, nice to see you all again, by the way.
Welcome.
We actually hosted Not Really Dead and Miss Gigi for a, what do we call it? A rope educational?
Yes.
Out at Diosa's play space, and it was an absolutely amazing event. Nothing but great reviews from everyone who participated on how amazing just the rope tying and the energy connection and everything really was. So we are definitely hoping to maybe hook something like that up again in the future. And absolutely just honored to have you on the seminar here.
You can't see us, but we're both blushing. Yeah, we'd love to come out again once, like, yeah.
I know, a little less like the world is ending.
Yeah.
So the rest of the panel today, we were supposed to have a female-led relationship on here as well. Unfortunately, they had an emergency in the family and could not be here. So I'm sitting in on the panel as a dominant with my submissive 6 feet Sugar. Sugar, would you like to say hi?
Hi. Didn't prepare anything to say, so hello.
So a little bit about us. I'm actually a primal. That's what I identify in my personal life. I use dominant for the wolf spirit stuff because it's just easier to explain to newbies than to go into like the whole philosophical background on what a primal is. Sugar is submissive. She's new to a lot of this. She's back and forth on whether she's a masochist or a brat. So we are having a tremendous amount of fun with that, aren't we?
Absolutely.
So I'd like to go around the table real quick and just introduce the participants. Originally, we were going to do this a lot quicker because I thought our other guest panel members had a shorter amount of time. But if that's okay with the other side of the guest panel, we're going to go around, just let everybody introduce themselves. Is that okay? Not really.
Oh yeah, man. This is your show. I'm here for comic relief.
Outstanding.
Well done.
All right, so over to Kink and Culture. Do you want to say hi and introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure. Hi, everyone. I'm Kinky and Cultured. So I've been lucky enough to know this lovely group of people I met over the summer. I've had a lot of fun times together, and I'm expecting a lot more fun times together once the world goes back a bit to normal. And yeah, nice to meet everyone on here that I don't know already, and hope to have some fun with you guys too, maybe in the future.
Yeah, she was a great addition.
Thank you, Kinky. Over to Marie. You want to introduce yourself?
Marie, unfed Marie Astor, or sometimes people think it's Mary Easter. Primal Pride.
Nice.
Maybe because I didn't capitalize the A, so it looks like Mary Easter sometimes. Currently Primal Prey with a bunch of slew of other things. Been in the community since October 2016 and meeting a lot of people, going to a lot of things, and yeah, that's it.
Thank you, Marie. Over to Daisy DMB. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Jen. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, good. This is the first time using my microphone, so yeah. Also on set as flower. Relatively new to the lifestyle down here in Virginia. It's been several months and I've been having a blast going to events and meeting people. I guess I would call myself Primal Prey, but also a switch, and I have those variety tendencies also.
So you're Primal Prey? Very cool. We'll talk more later. Over to Brighteyes. Are you on?
Yes, I am. Hi. As the name would suggest, I am a brat and a submissive. I've been getting more involved in the community and exploring more in the last year. Bad time for experiencing new things, but it's been a great time for me researching and knowing more. And yeah.
Outstanding. Thank you, Brady. Over to Horny Flowers. I love that name.
I'm such a child.
Yeah, that was me. You already introduced me as Daisy DMB.
Well, Daisy, would you like to be called Daisy or Horny Flowers? Which one would you like?
Well, Horny Flowers on set, so that works.
Okay, thank you, because I will have so much more fun.
That's correct.
All right, over to Bear 85. You want to introduce yourself?
He's at work. He's in trouble.
You can just keep it clean.
Bear.
Whisper.
Keep it clean.
I'm the only one in the truck. I'm backing up right now.
Don't get a wreck, please. My lawyer doesn't want to hear it.
I've been on FetLife for probably almost 10 years now. Been in and out of the Harrisonburg munchies for 5 or 6 years, or since they started them. And I'd say I'm Domme with exploring all of Domme. And that's about it.
No, outstanding. Well, welcome. All right, since we've kind of introduced everyone, let's kind of roll into a little bit. So I'm gonna just kind of walk through the seminar part of this, and I open it up to Diosa and Brighteyes and Mike to just throw in any additional like information as I kind of go through the PowerPoint part here. So kink, basically, it comes down to three things, and that's behavior, attraction, and identity. Kink really comes down to engaging in behaviors that generate a certain power dynamic. It's experiencing attraction towards acts that with a certain power dynamic, and of course, adopting an identity that conveys certain power dynamic. So really, it's those three things: behavior, attraction, and identity. BDSM, which is a much older term than kink, it's an umbrella term for consensual practices that are basically revolve around bondage and discipline, dominance and submission, and sadomasochism. These terms like kind of all mean different things with the different letters, and it kind of varies depending on the different groups and factions within BDSM. But again, it all kind of comes back to those behaviors, the attraction, and the identity that the particular kink orientation that you have. BDSM sexuality is based on a power dynamic. That is really what kind of separates BDSM as a sexual orientation, where some other sexual orientations are based on gender, behaviors, attraction, or identity. BDSM is on that dynamic. So that is really the difference here as we kind of roll through. And just for everyone who may be new to these discussions, everything in here is referenced through psychological journals or online articles, and they're all on the bottom, so you can go back and actually read more on the concepts and the terms that we're talking about here.
I want to add a little bit to that, the BDSM and sexuality. You know, I'm also a counselor in human sexuality. So my thing with this is dispelling some myths on what BDSM is or isn't, because we get lumped into the category of those that are in the sex industry, the sex trade, you know, legal, illegal prostitution, and that's not accurate. So when we call it sort of BDSM sexuality, we're deeper than that. You know, I never engage with my that people that I'm doing a scene with, although people just assume, well, you're doing sexual things with them, certainly you're sleeping with them, or you're, you know, doing some sort of insertion that now qualifies as sex. Or no, that's not it.
No, 100%.
Right.
And when I get asked that question, like, well, would a sexuality counselor engage with sex with their clients? But, well, no. I'm like, well, then what makes you think that a pro-dom would do anything?
Right. And that's incredibly frustrating how the law, and it's usually the lawmakers that will attend our events, right? are so against
dark
us.
Suit, white shirt. Types,
yeah,
right?
imagine that. Same thing you wore in the office. So, but they blur the line on it in a way that's just, that's not true. You know, it's not all about sex. I think the connection that we have, our mental connection, and just things that we can't help how we are, that sets it apart.
No,
you know,
absolutely.
a prostitute, once she gets old or whatever, I don't know, they get out of the industry, right? Yeah, no. They can help it. She's no longer a prostitute. You know? I'm always going to be what I am. So.
Yeah, absolutely. So to kind of recap on what we talked about last week or 2 weeks ago. So expressions of a BDSM sexual orientation or kink sexual orientation, again, talk about those three things we already talked about. It talks about engaging in the behaviors that generate a certain power dynamic, the experiences of attraction towards acts with a certain power dynamic, and then of course, adopting that identity that conveys a certain power dynamic. And when we get kind of more into the discussions on Domme and submissive, you're going to see that that identity part plays a huge part in how people really kind of find out what their sexual orientation is. So the three main kind of core orientations in kink are dominant, submissive, and switch. Everything comes back to those three. Whether it's an identity, you know, I identify as being a dominant, or I identify as being a submissive, or if you're just a top, the physical act of dominating someone is still a dominant role. So it comes kind of back to those three core orientations. And the switch is that back and forth, you could kind of assume either role. Oh, I got a gift. I'm sure everybody can see that.
Nice.
So from these three orientations is really where we get that behavior, attraction, and identity. And from those three, there is almost limitless possibilities of roles within there. I mean, a couple times, you know, I've engaged with kinksters on Instagram and they're like, well, I identify as this. And I'm like, I've never even heard of that. I'm pretty sure you can't even select that on FetLife. But, you know, and that's the beauty of it as well. So people discover kink, they discover kind of who they are and this part of them, and they can go down a journey of self-discovery that can absolutely take them to identify in their own way and kind of find themselves and just, you know, be more kind of harmonious with who they are as a person in almost every other part of their life. So it's interesting how this kind of segs into other parts.
Right.
So we'll talk about DOMs real quick. So a while back, we formed a mini little committee to kind of come up with these definitions. Because there's different definitions out there. If you go to Kinkly, it says, you know, they all basically say the same thing, whether it's Kinkly or it's Urban Dictionary or, you know, whichever one it is. But what we kind of came up with the group is, so for a dominant or dom is someone whose sexual preference, identity, or orientation takes on the role of the superior and often controls the other submissive participant. This type of dynamic or partnership is often referred to in the kink and BDSM community as a DNS partnership. And some of the dominant variations are sir, dom, dominus, domina, dome, master, mistress, disciplinariness, goddess, daddy, mommy, bull, spanker, rigger, and top. I've also heard things like alpha, a bunch of other stuff. So really, it comes down to what that person, again, identifies as. With top, so the difference between being a top and being a dominant is a top is really the kinkster who takes on the role of giving the type of kink being explored. Using the word as a verb, topping is the actual physical act of giving the kink play. So this is where you kind of get into that, you know, the role versus the actual act of being the dominant in a scene. Because there's many kinksters where both them and their partner are complete equals, you know, in everything in life. There is no actual DNS back and forth, but once they go into like the bedroom or they engage in some type of play, it is the physical act in which they take on a dominant and submissive roles. Anything you want to add?
Yeah, I agree. You see that often in life, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely.
But more so, I think with guys that are dominant or switch, that they'll tend to go back and forth. But a dominant woman, I think we find more often that they're just kind of dominant across the board at home. It's kind of hard to acquiesce. Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, the difference in the top and topping too is you see that more as like a temporary when you go to any of these places. Yeah,
especially if you go to a lot of public dungeons and things like that.
Right.
Yeah, you have, you know, a impact play top who they bring a case and they just want to play.
Right, right. Or you see the case and you assume they're a top. Yeah. So yeah, again, do your homework. And
which isn't always the case. Well, one time at the Crucible, it was like, here, top me, here's all my stuff.
There you go. You know? So negotiate and do some homework. Yeah,
absolutely. Anything, Michelle? You want to add?
No, I agree. For me, the difference between the top and or a bottom, I should say, in my case, and a submissive is that I prefer the physical dominance versus mental or psychological.
Yeah.
So that's how I distinguish the two.
Absolutely. Right. So to go over submissive, a submissive is a sub or someone whose sexual preference, identity, or orientation involves willingly taking on the role of giving up some or all control to a dominant participant. This type of dynamic or partnership is also referred to in the kink and BDSM community as a DNS partnership, very similar to the other one. And some of these variations are everything from brat, cow, pig, cuckolds, submissive, my gosh, I need to drink more wine. Submissive, service submissive. I'm having trouble tonight. It's been a long week. slut, little, masochist, pet, princess, slave, spanky, kitten, baby girl or boy, and of course, bottom. And again, the difference between a role and actually taking on the action of bottoming. So the action of a bottom is the kinkster who takes on the role of receiving the type of kink play being explored. And bottoming is the physical act of receiving the kink play. You have countless experience on this.
Yeah.
Michelle, anything you want to add?
No, that's a good definition. Yeah.
And then of course we have the switch. That can go either way, do anything they want, depending on mood, interaction with the person, or you know, all that. So we are going to now open this up to a whole discussion. Again, so these are your hosts, Jay Wolfspirit, Diosa, Brighteyes, and Mike. Mike, we need to get you a Fet name. Get on Fet already.
The original Mike.
Yeah. Mike the original.
Yeah.
And then of course the guest speakers. So we will open it up. So I'd like to really open this up to Not Really Dead and Gigi first, with the dynamic that you guys have. So you're a rope top and bottom. Do you want to kind of talk a little bit about how that works?
Yeah, sure. You want to go first, or you want to? No? Okay. So yeah, we just like negotiated who was going to go first. So obviously, I'm not rocking a whole lot of like overt dominance in that. And that's kind of how I like prefer things outside of a scene. I don't have the bandwidth or the interest in that level of responsibility for someone else. And also like, just like on a personal level, I've been like actively kind of like dismantling my inherent patriarchy and stuff over the last couple of years. So I'm not particularly comfortable in extended power roles. So I very much identify as a top and a sadist. And I like giving the play that people want when it lines up with the things that I like to do. You know, particularly like consensually hurting other humans. I really enjoy that.
Especially when.
I
think you mean always, but.
It's like a slight variation, I think, from Michelle's take on tops and bottoms. I think there's like, for me at least, and people that I play with, and me and Miss Gigi, there's a very emotional, mental aspect to that. I really like emotional sadism. It's kind of my jam. So I'm, what's the line from True Detective? I'm a keen study of human frailty.
That's a great line. That's an absolute great line.
Yeah, so I like to figure out what people's buttons are and then push them out of order. And you know, I do that. I really like doing that through rope. Like most of the, I think when we're doing a scene as opposed to labbing, like most of our rope kind of falls into consensual non-consent. Gigi, we negotiate kind of like what we want to do. But like as soon as I start tying, I assume control of what's going to happen. And you know, like she can call red. It doesn't happen often because we're, you know, thoughtful of each other's boundaries. And I tend to be that way with all my partners. But I very much like creating like an emotional and mental space within rope bondage. And that's more so than like making pretty shapes or creating an aesthetic picture with rope. I like creating emotional experiences for my partners. And usually ones that involve like them getting hurt. So much like there's a qualifier in that. It's not just like hurt. Like if I wanted to hurt somebody, I could just like step on their foot. Like, I want to make them feel defeated or empowered. Sometimes like I want to give them an emotional reaction. Yeah,
Those
you
are
know,
the same thing. Like
defeated and empowered. Yeah, you make an excellent point.
Well, she probably feels empowered when she can withstand and process and control what she's receiving.
Yeah.
I would think.
Yeah, my favorite part is when she tries to do that and then at some point just gives up. Like, that's literally my favorite part. I had a moment with my other like rope partner that I tie with most of the time where they just kind of like broke down in tears while in the middle of a tie. And like, you know, we finished. And then as I was untying them, like they were like, feel like I failed. And I was like, no, you did exactly what I wanted you to. Like, that went exactly like it was supposed to, because that's what I was trying to do to you. And then they cried a little more and like,
I love it.
and we hugged and it was great. And then we had snacks. It was marvelous.
No, I absolutely love it.
But that's, yeah. So outside of a scene, I don't like carry that energy to people. But within play, that's very much a vibe that I try and create of, you know, I do that through like the way I move and the way I start a tie of like physically taking away people's power and ability to like resist. And I do that with like physical presence and by taking people's hands away from them to begin with, and just kind of like a myriad of subtle things that let people know that I'm in control. And then when we're done, I give that back.
So elegantly said.
I don't know how to follow that at all.
Well, Gigi,
Can you come back to me later?
I didn't mean to do that. And in my vanilla life, I'm also a poet and a writer, so that it happens like that sometimes.
So Gigi, I actually get a lot of questions about your Instagram posts and stuff. I try to support Not Really Dead and Miss Gigi as much as I can because they're such good people and everything with everything they've done for us. So I post a lot of their or repost to my story a lot of the posts that they post, and I get a lot of like texts and stuff like, oh my gosh, who's Miss Gigi? She does the most amazing stuff and things like that. So like how does it work with you, Gigi? Because I noticed a lot of your stuff are self-ties, and it's like you working with other bottoms as well.
I'm kind of all over the show. Because I switch, I like to tie occasionally. But like honestly, I'm still very much learning, and really I couldn't do any of the stuff that I currently do or have any of the experiences that I currently have without first connecting with Not Really Dead when we were in New Zealand. And like when we started out that tying journey, like we started from the start together, and it's kind of like grown from there. So yeah, I'm getting emotional about this now.
That's awesome. You're welcome. Tears are welcome here.
Yeah, I mean,
you're open and accepting.
Like, honestly, it takes like 2 or like however many bodies you decide to put in rope at the time. Like a rigger without a body to tie is just standing there with string. Like
super true.
And like as a bottom, like I have a lot of respect and a lot of trust and like the people that I'm lucky enough to be tied by or tie with. I'm just obsessed with rope. I like it from all directions. Like I started self-tying when I wanted more rope in my life, and I was like, I'm gonna drive Not Really Dead insane being like, tie me up every day. So I had to learn.
So rope is definitely like the elegant like side of kink. It is beautiful. It's artsy in so many ways. It's kind of fascinating like that. It's also, I found, what I mostly not get booted off of Instagram for posting. Seems anything with impact play or other types of kink types of play, yeah, Instagram hates. So yeah.
You're fortunate. I think I'm like one bad choice away from getting kicked off Instagram.
It's so bad. It's so bad. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I've had a couple people like call me crying, like, I don't understand why I keep getting blocked on Instagram. So I just want to switch topics real quick and just talk about the dynamic that 6 Feet Sugar and I have. So you're up, 6 Feet Sugar. Big smiles.
No.
So me and 6 Feet Sugar have been in a kink dynamic for several months now. It's been an adventure, to say the least. A long time ago, I kind of started, I started off as a Domme, found Primal. I date across the different dynamics. I've dated Dommes, I've dated other Primals, I've dated Submissives. I kind of found 6 Feet Sugar, and she was a masochist, and it's an area of my sadist tendencies I wanted to explore. So it was an interesting kind of negotiation as we started talking and getting to know each other, and as we decided to actually go into a dynamic. But I've never actually found someone so naturally. And Diosa's laughing.
She's amazing. She is amazing.
Naturally.
Oh my God, stop. I'm blushing.
We're going to make everybody cry today.
Yeah.
Great ratsakiss.
Oh my God. But yeah, so natural, like who falls into that masochistic role so easily with so little exposure to the kink world. So do you want to talk about real quick how you kind of found kink and how you found me?
Yeah, well, I mean, honestly, I definitely just like fell into it. I didn't know a whole lot, just like from what my Pornhub searches had been. That was like the extent of it. So that's about it. But yeah, then I met you, and it was you definitely have taught me a lot, and I think I don't know, it's been a ride for sure. I've learned a lot about myself as well as like just this whole community, and it's been fascinating and just amazing, honestly.
So a little bit of our dynamic, we are in a quasi 24/7 dynamic. So part of like how I got into life coaching is I realized that I was pretty much life coaching the subs that I was running already. So it was one of those, I was a life coach in my previous work. And I said, well, wait a minute, like what I do with life coaching is exactly what I do with my submissives that I take on. So this is a thing. And that's how I kind of got into the life coaching with the whole kink education stuff kind of merging. So I work with 6 Feet Sugar on, we have a whole actual contract written out. So we are actually contract, and she is in a training collar with me. It's kind of every aspect of her life we kind of talk about and negotiate. And I work with her to meet milestones and to kind of reach her overarching goals. She's rewarded for meeting those milestones, and she's lovely punished when she doesn't meet the milestones. And since she's a brat, she tends to,
oh man,
find little ways of finding reasons for me to
teach the teacher.
Yeah, all that good stuff.
I love learning. I mean,
Exactly.
But I'm curious on how she discovered her interest in her particular kink, because she can really take it. That's not where you just prick your finger and you're like, oh, I like that. I mean, she can take hardcore stuff.
So honestly, I mean, I'm personally like growing up, I've just been like naturally like I'm a shy person. I've always like done well being like told, hey, you should do this, you should do this. So like I respond very well to being told what to do. And I've learned that I really enjoy that. So I think that's been a big part of it. And then, I mean, honestly, where the masochism comes from, I don't know, but I've definitely enjoyed that experience so far.
And that's something important for like the newer people in participating. So similar to other sexual orientations, and we get a very bad rap as kinksters, displayed in the modern media and fiction and stuff like that, as we're all damaged humans who've all been traumatized and beaten and all this stuff, and we end up as Christian Greys who are broken souls just trying to find are submissive. And the reality of it is, I personally, I've never had any personal trauma. I've never, had anything like that. This was something that has always been a core part of me. I discovered it. I kind of, worked into it, and it is a natural part of who I am. It's just a matter of accepting it and letting it build.
I'm glad that you embrace your primal side too. So not only being dominant, but being a primal, because it's a huge responsibility being a dominant. And when you take on somebody 24/7, it's exhausting. Even when it is your natural tendency, it's a big effort. And I'm not great at crafting out a scene or, planning ahead on what it should be. I like when scenes are organic and just unfold in a way that feels natural. If you've got a good read on your person, then you know where you can go, as long as you know your hard limits for me, right?
Absolutely.
So that you get to embrace your primal side and sort of let go. It's got to be really liberating to balance out.
And that's exactly how I do scenes. Like I kind of I have a general idea, like, we're going to do rope today. And then we don't do rope, we do bondage tape because I don't have time.
Right.
Because I'm a primal and I have zero patience.
That's right.
And I want them all.
Get there.
And that's actually what my New Year's goal this year is. I want to do more rope. I want to get more into it. I want to tie. And that's something that, we've talked about, starting to tie once a week and things like that as part of my personal growth. And that's exactly all the kinksters that I've worked with. I'll do a rack agreement with them, but I won't actually I have a general idea of what they like, what their hard limits are and things like that. But I don't know what I'm going to do in that scene.
Right.
That's the primal side of me.
Right.
Between ADHD and primal, I have no plan. I just know my hard limits, and we're not going to break those.
Right.
And then Annie can attest to that one. Like what's going on with this plunger? What are we doing? Okay, let's go forward.
I'll tell you, it's thanks to Brighteyes that I even understand the attraction to rope. Because coming in, I was like, I don't get it. That doesn't make any sense to me. But we went to Seven's house, and she had an instructional there, and to see the response of B, I think, and she soaked that rope. I said, oh, there's got to be something to it. And then we went to a play space, and we saw some other people do it, and the way that their bottom or that their submissive responded, I said, okay, I get it now. It doesn't work for me, but for some people, as soon as the rope touches them, they go in the zone. So I've seen it, and I've seen it with Brighteyes, so I get it. And I think just on mine as a sensual, it helps to know a little bit of rope. It's not wholly my thing, but I know enough to use it to go into something else, sort of a transition or like a foreplay kind of thing. But yeah, in the beginning, I was like, that doesn't make any sense to me. What the heck's going on here? Yeah. So,
oh no, absolutely.
Yeah. But
it's
all
really
that
cool
to say
about rope. Sorry.
Who's this? Hey, one rule, just so I can tell everybody, when you make a comment, just say who you are and then make your comments so everybody can kind of keep up with who's talking. So please go ahead.
This is Kinky and Cultured. Sorry if I interrupted someone. I'm
Not at
zooming
all.
on my phone and it is not great, but happy to be here anyways. I think something that's so cool about rope too is I've always been super intrigued by it, but I didn't realize that you can use it for so many different things. The first time I was suspended was at the Kinky Bed and Bondage, and when we were doing rope there, I realized that you can use it to be pretty and it to be like aesthetically pleasing.
Right.
One of the other riggers that we hung out with there, I also realized you can do it and use it for torture, as he liked to torture me sometimes, and use it for pain. So I think just the fact that not only is rope beautiful, but you can use it for so many different like scenes and so many different things. It's really, really cool to me too.
Yeah, that's tomahawk. Tomahawk can be quite the sadist with the rope, and it is just wonderful to watch. We
his laugh.
Yes, yeah, he gets that giggle, and you're like, oh, someone's about to start
Does he twist
crying.
the mustache?
Yeah,
and do the
he
laugh?
does twist the
Nice.
mustache.
Nice.
He's like that evil guy driving the train,
There
trying to
you
run over the
go.
lady tied up.
Yes.
We
I'm
did-
like the more I get to know you, the more I hang out with you, the meaner you get to me.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, and we have
Because he pushes until.
just a little bit more. I love it. So I want to kind of open up. Thank you so much for kicking and Kink and Cultured. Open up to the participants. Please, again, this whole process, feel free to just ask questions. Anything that pops in your head, just go ahead and ask. Do we have any questions from the participants for either Not Really Dead and Miss Gigi or myself and 6 Feet Sugar?
6 Feet Sugar. I like that. That's cute.
Isn't that the best?
That's
awesome. This is Kinky and Culture again. I actually have a question for 6 Feet Sugar. I don't necessarily think that I would identify myself as a masochist, but I definitely like pain sometimes. Do you feel like the more that you like dive into the scene, do you feel like your pain tolerance is going up? And you feel like you're like kind of wanting like more and more as far as like you being a masochist? Or yeah, I'm just curious as how that's developed over the past few months.
Yeah, so I mean, I definitely didn't think that my pain tolerance was very high, but then like going into it, I've realized, oh, I actually like can handle a lot. So I don't know if it's like gone up or like if I've actually just put myself in positions where I've experienced more pain and been like, oh, I can handle this. But definitely I've noticed that like I feel like, yeah, I can handle more. And I don't know if it's just like that I've sort of like held myself back or if I can like handle more now, but it's definitely been like, I don't know, I'm ready for more. So
You're in trouble.
This is Jay Wolfspirit. So
I like smiled and cringed when you said that because
right.
So this is Jay Wolfspirit. A lot of that comes into like, again, the moment. If you can get someone to relax, their pain tolerance like skyrockets. And that's a big part about learning how to do impact play properly. If you start with very light sensory play and you build up gradually, like I'm talking increment by increment, and you transition from like sensory play into impact play, where you just start with like maybe like a little like flogger, and then more flogger, and then heavier flogger, and then you start moving into like canes and whips and all the heavier stuff. I mean, I've started scenes with feathers and ended up with like hitting somebody with a 2x4. So it all comes into, if you can build that up slowly and you can get that person to relax, you're essentially tricking their neurology of the body to understanding that, pain is now pleasure. And it really like changes the entire, especially if you have outstanding energy with that person, you change the entire dynamic of the situation.
Yeah, I think it does depend on the energy and what works for that person. Because for I work with mostly men, so if I just tell them, or you're doing a good job or a good boy, or the opposite of, no, you're going to stand there and take it. And we're going to count this out.
Absolutely.
So it's not always that gradual buildup that can get them to handle a little bit more. Sometimes just talking them through. There's some people that just have a cadence to their voice that just lulls the person to the next level as soon as they hear you speak. So sometimes it's punishment to not speak to them, right? Just go do your thing and just, at the end. Good
absolutely.
Job.
And I'd actually be curious how this ties into the rope topping and bottom side of things. But I know,
Well,
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Oh, okay. This is not really dead. I was actually just gonna like chime in on that.
Please go ahead.
Yeah, I think there's that idea of like tricking the body is very present in like the way I move through a rope scene of like increasing and then decreasing tension in the body through rope, because I think, like I was kind of alluding to earlier, like you can hurt somebody really easily. Like that's not difficult. Like giving somebody the strength to make it through something that's really difficult, I think is like more nuanced. And it can be a really powerful experience, I think, for myself as a top and for people that I'm tying with. That said, like I absolutely don't do that with impact play. Like me and Morgan have a standing, Gigi have a standing disagreement about that, because like my sadism takes over and I'm like, I don't want you to handle this. I just want I feel like that's cheating. I'm cheating myself out of the enjoyment of like, no, this is going to last like 7 minutes and it's going to be the worst 7 minutes of your life. And I'm going to be so happy.
This is Brighteyes. Do you find that during that dynamic, is there a lot of communication or is it more silent?
The rope part?
Or either one.
I don't know, like impact play is mostly just me giggling. But no, with rope, like to a point, I mean, like we kind of negotiate the level of communication that we want in a scene. Like if we're doing something really intense, I'll often like ask for like as little communication as possible, like unless something's wrong.
Yeah.
Like if something's wrong, I obviously want to hear it, but like when we're like labbing out a new tie or trying something that we haven't done before, like we talk and like have a full conversation and like, I don't know, talk about grocery lists and stuff while we're doing it. But
that's awesome.
Like when we're trying something or like having a scene, like there's not always space for conversation in that. Like the conversation we have is almost entirely physical.
That's cool. That's cool.
This is Marie.
Hi, Marie.
So I have some things to say in regards to being a heavy hitter or being hit heavily.
Yes, you do.
Yeah. So things that I have noticed, it's been a lot of years I get hit pretty hard, but stuff that I've noticed that have impacted sometimes in my sensitivity level. So being a female, a lot of times when your hormones are changing, that also impacts. Because when your hormones at a certain part, you do get sensitive, like your skin does become more sensitive. So sometimes during those different times of the month, not exactly just around your period, but you do get a little more sensitive and you can't take as much sometimes. I also found out that your emotional state also impacts how much you can get hit.
Right.
If you're a little more distressed or anxious or like a little more on the emotional edge, sometimes you can actually be a little more sensitive, other than being happy, and the person can be going at you and you'll just giggle at them as they're about to break their arm from trying to hit you so hard.
Right.
And then I also noticed that when you get into that space, like that subspace, when someone's put me in there, I'll feel nothing. They could hit me like like Wolfspirit said, with a 2x4 and I wouldn't even know it because
Right.
I'm not there. I'm not physically there.
Yeah.
So there are certain things in regards to impact that can change and how much you can get hit.
Yeah, those are great points. And Marie, I'm so proud of you. I've seen you. I've seen you on both ends of it, and I think it matters to know to what end you're trying to achieve. Right? What's cathartic for one is not for the other, or maybe sometimes you just want to try out a new tie or something new in general. So yeah, giggling through it or talking about the grocery list, as he was saying, is probably part of it. But if you're going for trying to get into that subspace, sometimes you need somebody to whisper to get you there, or absolute silence and no other people around, whatever it is, but knowing what your end game is. But I think also Kinky and Cultured said that how it can be aesthetically pleasing. Sometimes that's the end goal, especially if you're trying to, if you're going to take pictures or something like that. But knowing what you want to go for is a big deal.
Yeah, and that comes back into the whole planning and pre-discussed and all that, because for the new people on, the biggest thing is you never want to stray into the non-consensual, because within the kink community, that's equal to rape. So you never ever want to go into an area or cross a boundary or anything like that. That's the quickest way to getting exiled from the entire kink community.
Yeah.
And there's lists on FetLife and other kink platforms that they list people who have crossed those lines and who they no longer want as part of like any community at all. So it's really important to make sure that you're doing that safe, sane, and consensual verbal agreement, or that you have a written risk-aware and consensual kink agreement for that negotiated play.
Yeah, and update it often. If it's been 5 years, it might be time to, yeah.
And that's actually
revisit.
One of the topics that we brainstormed is actually for these sessions is to actually have an entire session on safe, sane, and consensual and rack agreements and things like that. So that's coming down the line.
I know, as Maria was saying, it depends on a lot of factors on what you can handle. And what I found to be helpful is if somebody brings their playlist with them, right? So you know what mood they're in.
Oh, absolutely.
And I warn my people when they're coming in, you better see what I'm playing. If I'm playing jazz, we're gonna have a nice little, if I'm playing Metallica, Kid Rock, Rob Zombie, watch out.
With me, it's Pussifer. Anything by Maynard.
Oh, yes.
You start putting that on, and I go right into it's like lyrical sexuality.
Yeah.
I go right into all right, we're going to town.
Yeah. Sometimes it's Baby Shark. Sorry.
Yeah.
I try.
Well, that makes me wonder what I do with my playlist with all of you.
I absolutely love it. Love it.
This is not really dead. Just kind of piggybacking off of that discussion of communication. I think that's one of the things that I found most profound in like my relationship with Gigi and my relationship with other people is the way I've learned to communicate with people and partners. And, I tease Gigi sometimes for like, you use your words, like just say the thing that you want. But, I think that's like one of the most important things in our kink practice and like in our general life practice is how we've learned to communicate with each other. Because I think there's like, I say this every now and again, it's like you can have anything you want, you just have to ask for it.
Right. Sometimes when they're in the zone in subspace, they can't, and then it's up to you to know them and read them. And Baby Shark, a lot of biting. FYI.
And Marie knows I like to bite. Right, Marie? So I just want to take a moment to introduce Mistress K. She has joined us late. How are you, Mistress K?
Well, hello.
Do you want to real quick take a moment to introduce yourself to the group?
Sure. I'm, like Jay said, Mistress K. I'm in a FLR, hot wife, cuckolding relationship. Been a kinkster for probably about 2 years now, I guess, like full playing with others, and it's been longer than that. But as far as like going and meeting with other kinksters and not just playing the two of us at home, the two of us at home has gone back a long time. But really diving deep into the education part of it, and getting to know the kink community, that has probably been in the last 2 years, and that has been really rewarding, because classes like this, other workshops like this, and just getting to know your community, it's just so important it's reassuring that you know, how to play safely, how to explore safely, all of those things that we were already doing. But then for me, when I am going to classes like this, or getting to know my community and kind of talking with other people, I get more ideas, and it gives me confidence to go further in our own play. So.
No, absolutely.
So I wonder, in merging the communities on the swinger side and the kink side, if we're seeing sort of kinky swinging. You know what I mean? That's different than swing, where, you know, ultimately in our parties, swingers do their thing, kinks doing their thing, but
I've actually started to
couples
see
swapping
it.
out
Yeah.
kinky things.
And a couple of the newer people we've seen.
This is Kay again, and I've had conversations. I'm pretty plugged into kind of the wider cuckolding community, and we've kind of talked about how, because cuckolding is kind of a niche section of ethical non-monogamy, where a lot of the aspects of cuckolding actually cross over into kink, that we seem to kind of be the people that bridge the gap a lot of times between the kink communities and the swingers communities, because a lot of cuckold couples will go and play at a local dungeon, and then they'll turn around and go to a swinger party. And so they kind of mix in both worlds. I certainly have, since we started in this journey, I've been able to kind of play in both spaces. And luckily this group of people here are a good group, where I've heard of other people that haven't been as fortunate. They haven't found that crossover as well, and so they kind of have to do their kink thing, and then they have to kind of do their swinging thing, and they don't really get to meld those as well. But I think you are starting to see more crossover, especially as hot wifing becomes more and more popular. And it's actually, cuckolding is one of the more Googled terms in terms of like ethical non-monogamy, and cuckolding porn is certainly like skyrocketed to the top of the search lists.
Oh, absolutely. And that's actually one of the biggest requests I get in my email box, is for the kink bracelets that I do. I do kinky as fuck. I do dominant as fuck, submissive as fuck, and that's a lot of fucks, I know. Primal as fuck. But I get a lot of like requests. Are you going to do a hot wife bracelet? Are you going to do a cuckoldress bracelet? That's actually something we're talking about, like, you know, later this year, actually releasing a couple different roles for stuff like that. Because it's amazing how much cuckoldry has like become mainstream, you know, compared to what it was just maybe a few years ago.
Well, Jerry Falwell Jr. getting in the news didn't hurt as far as the exposure to that. So there's been a lot of Googles, a lot of Googling happening.
Thanks, Urban Dictionary. Go ahead, Michelle. You have something?
No, I was just going to say that I would imagine that from the aspect of the cuck, is that what it's called, the gentleman?
Yes.
Being at an event like at Diosa's, it gives them the opportunity to voyeur. Yeah, which is a lot. I think is a lot of what they enjoy.
It's one of the core Yeah.
Yeah.
it's one of the
But I
core.
appreciate that you guys vet them really well before they come in to make sure that they are cuck, because that can go horribly wrong really fast, right? Yeah, they think they are, and then they watch something, and then
Absolutely.
and then you, Jay, have to escort them out. It wasn't what they thought.
I've escorted many people
Yeah.
out the door with the arm behind their backs. All right, I
By
think
the
we've had
cock
enough
cage and they're
tonight.
out. Yeah.
Enjoy your stay at Diosa's. Please don't come back
Correct.
again.
Yeah, send them across the road.
I'd like to switch topics really quick here. And I kind of have a couple relationship questions. Not Really Dead and Miss Gigi, are you guys still poly? Can you maybe talk about your poly dynamic?
Yeah, yes, we are poly. So we both have other partners, other like Morgan, Gigi. Wow, I just keep doxing her. Yeah, Gigi has had a long-term relationship with another rope top in Baltimore. I have a couple of people that I tie with, and like one relatively serious romantic relationship. My other partner just moved to Florida, which is a total bummer. Like Florida. Yeah.
That's far.
But yeah, I think that like our poly dynamic just goes back to communication. Like we're really open with each other about like what we do with whom, and try to be respectful of one another's feelings around that. That being said, it's also like we try to focus on the fact that like our feelings are our individual responsibilities. Like I'm allowed to have feelings, but it's my responsibility to manage that, not Gigi's.
That's outstanding, actually.
Vice versa. So yeah, I mean, I don't know, like COVID obviously makes being poly extraordinarily complicated.
Along with everything else involved with COVID.
Yeah, but yeah, I think like communication is such a cornerstone of everything we do in kink, and being honest and being open, and really listening and hearing one another is critically important. It's especially with like the type of play that we do. We do a lot of like consensual non-consent based play, and that's like you can't have that open that space up without having the trust and safety and communication built beforehand.
Yeah.
No, absolutely. And just to kind of contrast with that, so like 6 Feet Sugar and I were in the first time I've been able to successfully pull it off. So I'm an interesting mix between poly and swinger. So like I am very sex positive. I'm very open. I have pack members who I routinely play with. So I'm, open. COVID has kind of changed some of that. But I'm very free spirited, very open to different possibilities and things. And past relationships that I've been in, that's been problematic. Not all, so for the new people who are either listening or participating, not all submissives are open to that. There is a true thing called monogamy in a DNS relationship. So that is something that's negotiated between the Dom and the submissive, or the top and the bottom. So in the dynamic that 6 Feet Sugar and I have, she's actually monogamous to me. She's open to playing with other people, but I actually have control over that dynamic as part of our negotiated arrangement. So where I'm free to play with other people, as long as I communicate with her what's going on and details and things like that, because that is part of her kink. She is actually more or less monogamous to me emotionally, physically, and psychologically, whereas I'm monogamous to her psychologically and emotionally, but not physically. So that's an interesting dynamic I've wanted to experiment with in the past. But like I said, most submissives are not for that.
Or they, in the beginning, because they are trying to be the good submissive,
Yeah.
they think they are okay with that. And they might truly think they are until the time comes. And then they realize that they're really not okay with it.
Right. Or want to change it.
And not all tops are that open either.
Who's talking? Sorry.
Marie, sorry, this is Marie.
That's okay.
I'm also ethical poly, and yeah, I've also run into also dominants and tops who are also not into it. That is a deal breaker for them as well.
And for our newbies, again, too, because there's some things that we just have to just keep, you know, beating on, is to do your homework. So if you've got somebody that approaches you and they say that they are poly, make sure their spouse is in agreement.
Yes. So
yeah, check with all parties involved.
There's a big difference between non-monogamy and ethical non-monogamy. And again, we are open here. Your kink may not be my kink, but I accept you. But you know, I don't know how to say it.
This is Kay. I have found that as well. This is Kay.
Go ahead, Kay.
I have found that as well as talking about, like, you absolutely, what's the phrase I like to use? Trust but verify.
Absolutely.
So, you know, you can tell me that your wife is okay with you playing, but until I get to look her in the eyes and go, hey, are you okay if this happens? Then I'm not going to do that, because that is not how I play ethically, even as a hot wife, not in a poly relationship, just in a sexual, open kind of way.
Right. Or all the way around, because, you know, in our community, that puts us all at risk. You know, we don't need that person that had no clue what their spouse is up to, banging down the door.
No, absolutely. Yeah. And the majority of the kink community is still in the closet, so to speak. And it's not as open as the rest of the LGBT community. So yeah, we do still operate as, I don't know what other word to use, under a certain level of discretion and, you know, go ahead.
This is Kay again. I saw Ember wrote in the chat, what if the wife doesn't want to meet? For me, that is that is a tough call. If I know that I am speaking to the wife via text, via digital communication, like if they have their own Kik account or something like that, and I have the chance to actually hear from them directly, that's kind of a gray area for me. You know, I have to kind of play that by ear and get a good feeling for the person. If I feel like there's something rotten in Denmark, I'm not going to believe anything that person says anyway. And so I'm like, all right, you could have pulled this stranger off the street. This could be like the girl down at the coffee shop saying she's your wife, and I'm not going to believe that. I'd prefer to meet. But if it's not possible, or if I'm getting a bad, I prefer to meet, but if I'm getting a bad sense, then no, I'm not going to play with that. Another thing my husband also pointed out, he is free to play, and that is different than a lot of cuckolding relationships. And a lot of cuckolding relationships and hot wife dynamics, the cuckold is monogamous. In our dynamic, he is a I'm gonna lose what it's called, demisexual. So he has to have like a very deep emotional connection in order to be sexual with someone. And so he chooses not to engage that unless he feels a very deep emotional connection to somebody and wants the freedom to do that. And he always kind of runs it and talks to me about it first. But what I have done with his partners in the past is I always reach out to them so that they know he's not full of crap. for
Yeah.
wanting to play, that it is an open, ethically non-monogamous space, and that if they have any questions, they can reach out to me. I'm here to answer anything, or reassure them that this is okay, and I'm totally not going to stalk them down with a hatchet or something like that, you know.
So this is Jay Wolfspirit. I won't pretend that everyone here knows I'm on Tinder. A lot of the people who are participating are because I was on Tinder, and I use Tinder as a platform for advertising the life coaching and kink education stuff. I also use it as a platform for meeting play partners and people like 6 Feet Sugar, just saying, and other kinksters who are interested. So I won't pretend to say that I have not engaged in dynamics, for less of a better word, of people where perhaps both spouses don't know. It comes down to you and the other person, and what you are ethically willing to accept the dynamic with that person. And where in the past I might have done that stuff, perhaps now I wouldn't, because it's just not part of the dynamic I have with 6 Feet Sugar. It all comes down to communication and negotiation and how much you're willing to accept with that other person. And really that communication back and forth is absolutely what's key. And it comes down to hard limits, and you don't want to sell yourself short to appease someone else, and then you end up getting guilt over play that should have been absolutely amazing, because what we do with kink is absolutely amazing every time we play. So you want to make sure that you are keeping true to yourself as you're engaging with other people in the dynamics that you do.
Yeah, but if you're new into this and you're still learning yourself, you have to, tread lightly and
Absolutely.
be willing to change. If you start out thinking everything is okay and then realize later you're not okay with it, that's fine.
Yes.
Grow and again communicate and be open with it. I think that just comes with experience and time and getting to know yourself. I think we've all been there. Anybody that's of a certain age like me, there was a lot in my youth that I would do without care, without regard to the other person or not. And now I'm not in that place, So like you're saying, though, it doesn't mean I'm not going to engage with people that have a spouse that don't know, but I'm going to be pretty damn sure on that person that we all have equal skin in the game to do that, and that they're as careful as they can be, and that this is truly something that they need. This is their outlet
Absolutely.
for a high-powered job or whatever it is. But yeah, I would have to say in my youth, I was not like that. I didn't care. Now I care.
That's a perfect example. So,
but
yes.
also, let me finish my thing before I forget, because I have short timers. But also as a sensual, and I've always been this way. And I think, as Hot Wife was saying, is I have to have that mental connection to do it. I have to be in tune with the person and be able to know them on a level that there are no words for it, right? It's just intangible. But once I'm vested, I give my all, whether it's, friendships and family or a relationship. When I'm in, right? So no matter what age I become, when that relationship ends, if it ends poorly, I'm still going to be, crushed. But again, my approach is always going to be sensual. So people that are not accustomed maybe to my style will read into it and think that the relationship is something that it isn't, because mine looks like a stand-up seduction,
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it looks like I'm totally going to take this person and go do something, but no, my pleasure is, oh, you're that hard, now go home. Yeah, you're that soaked, go away now. But yeah, to somebody that doesn't know what my style is, they would be like, oh yeah, she's totally doing them. No. So you're just being aware of who you are, and that if you are quick to lend your heart, or if you wear your heart on your sleeve, that in this world, be very careful.
Yeah, they'll eat you up and spit you out.
Yeah.
unfortunately.
Right. Or you just do it to yourself because you can't help it, but you have to learn to rein in your heart um, and just put some time, energy, and effort into your person before you allow yourself that total surrender, because it will just kind of save you.
And unfortunately with kink, the adequate platforms in which you can look for people,
Oh gosh.
I know, to
Yeah.
participate
Talk about
in
limited.
kink with, whether
Yeah.
they're looking for a full-on relationship or you're looking for just kink play partners, the platforms are not very good.
Right.
And what has historically happened over a lot of this, everybody was on Craigslist. Everybody was on Craigslist posting exactly what they wanted, and Craigslist was this mecca. And then the government cracked down on the sex workers and essentially shut down Craigslist. So all the Craigslist people had this vacuum. They need to go somewhere. They ended up going to Tinder. And now everybody who is kinky is more or less on Tinder. So Tinder is still one of the best places I have found to connect with kinky people.
Let me make a note. Sign up for Tinder.
It's been fantastic. Now I will say Tinder is a shit show.
This is Marie. This is Marie. It's also Bumble as well.
I have such funny, horrible, tragic stories about Bumble. But just my experience, Tinder has been successful. Now, FetLife is amazing, and if those of who are part of this discussion who are not on FetLife, I highly recommend FetLife. But FetLife is not for finding people.
No.
In fact, the creators of FetLife specifically designed FetLife so that you couldn't just search people. Like I can't go on FetLife and go, all right, I'm looking for a female who's 6 foot tall, Asian with blonde hair, go. You can't do that on FetLife. It doesn't work that way. FetLife is designed to be able to get involved in the kink community, to get involved in different groups, to figure out what your fetishes are and your kinks and all that, and just, again, get involved in the kink community. It was specifically designed so you can't, so basically the single males couldn't get on and troll, but like anything with single males, they figured out a way. So you have to kind of take all this stuff with a grain of salt. And a lot of the kinksters who reach out to me get very, very frustrated because they can't find that dom or they can't find that sub. And a lot of like the coaching that I do involves just, reassuring people to be patient and to go to events and to go to like play parties and all this, and you will find what you're looking for.
One would hope. Yeah, but hang in there.
Keep going, you'll find it.
Not really dead. Sorry to interrupt. It's not really dead. Me and Miss Gigi need to split, but thank you very much for inviting us tonight. And thank you to everybody that was here. And it was really great listening to everybody.
We're actually getting ready to kind of wrap up here shortly. I was going to see if there's any other questions.
It was so good to
Thank you so much. Not really dead.
Come back soon.
It was so much fun. I will be in touch. I got some things that I'm brewing here in Baltimore that I want to share with you all and
yay!
Collaborate on. So I'll fill you in on that stuff soon.
Please.
Excellent.
Let's scheme and collaborate.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Miss Gigi, you're amazing.
Thank you.
Love you guys.
Bye.
Bye.
So I just wanted to, as we wrap up, I just wanted to offer to the participants a final chance to ask any questions. There's a couple people who haven't really had a chance to ask any questions. So I'll go ahead and open up now.
Okay, Jay, this is Kay, real quick.
Hi.
You were talking about Tinder and Bumble. There's also a platform, I know you can find it via Twitter, but you can also just Google it, called Dating Kinky.
Oh, you told me about this, yes.
And it's a really unique space because they do like webinars and classes and they have guest speakers all the time, but they're also they are building a dating platform. where you can put your account and search for other kinksters that you want to date, people that you want to connect with. So check that out as well, Dating Kinky.
Nice. Somebody text
So-
me that so I don't forget. Marie. I gotta say that, horny flowers, right?
Horny Flowers, do you have any questions or anything before we log off?
No, I'm good. Thank you. It's been great to listen.
Absolutely. Brighteyes, is there anything, questions or anything you'd like to discuss?
No, I wish I had gotten, like, I had a really nice compliment for Not Really Dead, but he left before I got to say it and everybody
So
just kept talking. So I'm
this
just
is-
held on to it.
No, this is being recorded, so please go ahead and give your compliment.
He has the most soothing voice. Like, I could have just taken a nap listening to him. I literally, when he went on like his big monologue talking about like rope play, like I just laid down, my eyes closed, and then I was like, wait, no, not the time for that.
Still love that.
Oh, that was nice.
See, that's part of his ploy.
That's right,
He
lull you in.
brings you in with
Yeah.
that honey voice.
Some people admitted to doing other
Yeah.
things.
Mhm.
Bad.
And then all of a sudden he cranks into pain.
That's right.
Thank you so much, Brighteyes.
Yeah.
Bear85, do you have anything for us before we log off?
Is he still backing up? Still parking?
No, I'm not backing anymore. I'm driving instead. Off work though.
All right.
Outstanding.
Yeah.
No, I don't have any questions.
Okay, perfect. Who we missing? 6 Feet Sugar, anything they like to end with?
Oh God, I wasn't ready for this. No, I don't think so.
Well, you're perfect. Just saying as your
Aw,
Dom. You're perfect in a
thanks.
minute.
Oh, get a room.
Oh, I intend to.
Get attention.
Marie, anything you'd like to end with?
No.
And of course, last but not least, Kinky and Culture.
She left.
Well, fine.
See ya.
All right, so I have a couple, what's going on here? We talked about 5 questions. So just a couple plugs here at the end. So on January 20th, we'll be, a couple of us will be on Instagram Live answering questions. Feel free to join us there and drop any questions about anything we're doing or kink related or anything at all. Usually we get a little drunk and answer freely. January 22nd, we have a hands-on workshop and a possible optional photo shoot if you're interested. On the January 27th, we'll have our next virtual Kink 101. And excitingly enough, this is my favorite topic, primals. Maria, I expect you there. And you're going to get a couple other fun people on. I'm hoping to get Apex, the one primal who kind of introduced me to a lot of this stuff. I'm working on that now. So stay tuned for that. On February 4th, we have our munch, our meet and greet at Bear Chase. The last one here in January was amazing. We got a whole bunch of new people and they were fantastic, great energy people. February 5th, we'll have another hands-on workshop. And of course, we have a educational play event coming up this Saturday for vetted Diosa people. If you're not vetted, please feel free to go to visitdiosa.com, correct?
Right.
And go through the vetting process so that you can get added to the vetted list. Any plugs you want to do?
No, that's it. I'm looking forward to seeing everybody this Saturday.
Perfect. Michelle, anything you want to add for Kinky Ben and Bondage?
No, this was great.
Perfect. Well, I want to thank everyone for their time tonight.
Thanks, Mike.
Mike, anything you want to add?
I'm good, thank you.
Engineer.
I know, right? Mike's kind of the evil master, just kind of sits back and just laughs. Meanwhile, he plans things like the web. And if you don't know what the web is, just go to my FetLife profile and look at videos. You'll see the mastermind behind the web at
was all Mike's idea. So yes, please, again, anyone who participated in this or anyone who listens in, if you have any questions, just feel free to reach out to the Wolfspirit direct message. We do these every other 2 weeks. Feel free to log on and join. We'll see you guys on Instagram Live. Other than that, be safe, be well, and thank you to all the participants. Very much appreciated.
Bye.
Take care. Bye.